So that was eye-opening. And then when the center opened in July, we were able to bring our daughter back, and it really means the world to us. I would like to thank Vice President Harris, President Biden, and Congresswoman Delora for their tireless work to help working families, because that means a lot to all of us here. I'm an avid C-SPAN watcher, and Congresswoman Delora is remarkably consistent in what she believes and really supporting working families, and that means the world to us. So she'll come out.
Okay. Hi, guys. All right. Woo! All right. Thank you, Eldrin, really very, very much, and thank you for what you do and keeping the post going every day. We're really grateful to you. I am really excited about being here with all of you. I thank you for your warm introduction, and it is really today is a celebration. We are celebrating a historic victory, and we're going to talk about the transformative relief and the lifeline that is coming from the American Rescue Plan, which is coming from President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Amen. Amen. And it really is just an unbelievable effort that was made to get this bill passed and bring some relief to families today. What we want to try to do is I want to also say, where's Patrice? And Patrice and the West Haven Child Development Center. Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for what you do. There is no more noble cause than to really promote the growth and the development of our kids. And I would just tell you, we just came from some, 4-year-olds, unbelievable experience. Made the day. So thank you so much. I also want to bring greetings, and they send their regrets because they couldn't be here, and I say that to the Vice President, my colleagues, John Larson, Jim Himes, and Joe Courtney. But we do have Congresswoman Johanna Hayes here today. And she's a teacher. Somebody said she's retired. She's never retiring from teaching. She's teaching all the time and a fierce champion for working families. She sits on the Education and Labor Committee, and I just want to tell you, and where is Secretary Cardona? Watch. She is tough. Listen to what Johanna Hayes has to say. And you also should know she was one of the first members of Congress who came out very, very early for Kamala Harris for president. So wonderful. Great to see you, Johanna. Also want to recognize the governor. Great to see you today, and thank you for all your efforts and your announcements today on the child care effort. Our Lieutenant Governor, Susan Bysowitz, who is here and who's been leading the pack on the issues on child care. We've been on many Zooms together, and I want to recognize where our two senators. Dick Blumenthal is here, and Chris Murphy was with them earlier today, and they've been partners in all kinds of things with the Vice President when she was in the United States Senate. And I know there are many other dignitaries. I can't go through it all, except to say that it is wonderful to have all of our Connecticut colleagues here. I will say, though she's not sitting here, that the Vice President is the daughter of a mother who was working long hours. She understands what parents go through. Those long hours that you work, and then the obligation and the love to be able to take care of your children. She has been so tireless in breaking down the barriers for women of color, and she lives and breathes every single day, time after time, the first words that she uttered when she went to the courtroom, and that is Kamala Harris for the people. That is who she is and what she is about. Making the fight against hunger, helping to deal with the cost of housing and rents, maternal child care, and maternal health care. We've worked together on a number of issues, including food stamps in a disaster. And I might add that she was the first person in the Senate to sign on to the Senate legislation for the child tax credit. And in the Oval Office, she affirmed with the president that this was a time for a child tax credit, and we had to move forward on it. And I was with them together. It was a great, great day for that effort. And again, the child tax credit, I'll be brief about this because you've got others to come out and speak that you want to hear from. But this is the architecture for the future, which we need to build on. That child tax credit is exactly what that is. And it also addresses so much of the inequities that have been exposed by this virus. And just very simply, it will lift 1/2 of the children in this country out of poverty. And 833,000 youngsters for Connecticut, kids 6 and younger. It's $300 per child per month. Kids 6 to 17, $250 per child per month. It is transforming the lives of people. And I'll tick off very quickly. Lifting black children, over half of them out of poverty. Hispanic, 45%. Native American, 71%. White children, 40%. Asian Pacific Islander kids, about 38%. You think of it. For me, it is like the New Deal. It is like Social Security, which lifted 90% of our seniors out of poverty. This is what the child tax credit will do in lifting millions of children out of poverty. You couple that with the investment that's been made in the American Rescue Package of child care. $50 billion. We know that the child care industry has been on its knees. That was true to have it be affordable before the pandemic. And with the pandemic, it has thrown kids really, and thrown families really over the edge of the cliff. And today, there are over 5 million women who are out of jobs. And one of the major causes is the lack of child care. Well, we're not going to stop at the $50 billion. We're going to build on that and have a sustainable child care industry so that our economy can recover again. Yes. Now, just to say this to you, not only have the president and vice president given us the child tax credit and given us the increase in child care, but they have appointed our Secretary of Education, Dr. Michael Cardona. Yes, unbelievable. There you go. And I'll tell you.
Thank you.
He is not going to dismantle the public school system. He believes in it and is going to help us to increase the resources.
Thank you so much, Chair DeLauro. Thank you for the introduction. So honored to be here. And let me tell you, I'm the one before the guest speaker here. So I'm going to follow the 5 B's of public speaking. Be brief, brother, be brief. I'm going to tell you right now, though, we just spent time in a classroom with 4-year-olds. You're going to hear a lot about what the plan can do. You're going to hear a lot about how we have to do it. We just visited the why we're going to do it. These students and our families, they deserve everything that we have. You know, I don't have to tell you that the pandemic exacerbated gaps that have been there since we've been collecting data. I don't have to tell you that we have inequities in our system that we have to fix. We are at a critical point in our history of our country where we get to hit the reset button on things we need to fix. And this is our moment. And it always amazes me how when we need our educators to stand up. They stand up and they provide solutions, and that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. But we know that we need leadership that gets it, and that's what we have. So it's my greatest honor to introduce to you Madam Vice President Kamala Harris.
Hi, everyone. Sit. Hi. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It is so great to be here. And I have to tell you, I was downstairs with the incredible Congresswoman who I'm about to talk about and Secretary. And, when I look at those children, our babies, because I was raised to understand that the children of the community are the children of the community. And I look at those, those kids are whip smart. They had all kinds of questions. I am positive there is one of them who will be president of the United States. She is just phenomenal. But when I look at them, and we all know this is why we are here together. When a child is supported with the infrastructure that lets them know that they are loved, that lets them know that they have beautiful brains that must be fed, that lets them know they will be safe and they will be encouraged to be, that lets them know that they are respected in the context of themselves and their families. These children can and will be anything they choose. And in that way, our future is bright. I want to talk about Rosa DeLauro for a second. So you mentioned our meeting in the Oval Office with the president when we were crafting the American Rescue Plan. And there was a handful of members of the House that were a part of that meeting. And for the various components of the American Rescue Plan, they were there because of their long-standing leadership. And I think Connecticut knows, and I don't have to tell you, what a jewel you have in Rosa DeLauro. She has been singularly and tirelessly, singularly with a lot of people because also no one says no to her, been fighting for this, been fighting for it. I was in the Oval Office with the president this morning before I came here, and he said, as I was walking out, said, I'm heading to Connecticut. He said, please tell Rosa I love her. That's what he said. He said, please tell her I love her. And so in front of all the friends, I just want to publicly thank you for all that you do. You tirelessly challenge our country and its leaders to see our children and to understand that when we lift them up, we lift up the entire country. Can we please just applaud Rosa? Governor, it's been great to spend the day with you. I want to thank you. The work that is happening here in Connecticut, there's a reason that we're here. We have a big country, right? But so soon after the passage of the American Rescue Plan, and one of them is because of the work that you are doing together with my two buddies, the Senators Blumenthal and Murphy, and what is happening around leadership in Connecticut. Johanna Hayes is extraordinary and a real model for the country of what happens when we see our children, when we see them in the context of their families, and when we invest in them. So thank you to all of you. So I was raised by a mother, my sister and I, and my mother had two goals in her life: to raise her two daughters and end breast cancer. My mother was a breast cancer researcher. She was one of the very few women, much less women of color, in science at that time, but she was passionate about those two things, her children and the work that she was doing in research around breast cancer. And she worked long days, and she worked weekends. And in fact, it's so funny, my aunt sent me a letter that I wrote to her when I must have been about, I don't know, maybe 10 years old. And I was describing to her how Mommy would always, when we would leave, make sure you have your lunch, make sure you have your house keys. She worked long days and weekends. But when she was working those long days and weekends, my sister Maya and I would walk 2 houses down to the house of Miss Shelton, Miss Regina Shelton, from Louisiana, who actually ran the daycare center that we lived above. And we would go to her house, and that's where we would be, and our mother would come to pick us up when she was finished with her work that day and on the weekends. Miss Shelton was a second mother to us. My mother went on, and now I know this because I've actually talked to Tony Fauci at NIH. My mother would go on to actually make certain discoveries in breast cancer. And every day of her life, she talked about the fact that as it relates to the 2 passions she had in life, raising her 2 daughters and researching with a hope of ending breast cancer, would not have been achievable without Miss Shelton. It's so fundamental. It's so fundamental. It is about our children and all that a society should do, understanding that the children of the community are the children of the community, and in that way we have a collective responsibility. It is fundamental to say we should check ourselves sometimes when we say that we care about education. Well, we know sometimes not so much about the education of other people's children. It's so fundamental to recognize, we did an earlier event with the governor and the senators, that we know that when children don't have their basic needs, that they cannot perform, and then we have to rush resources, the general knows this, rush resources from every other system to make up for our failure to invest in them at the earliest stages of their life in the first place. It's so fundamental what we are talking about, not only in terms of what is just morally right, but what is right in terms of how we develop and craft a society that is not only functional, but that allows all people to thrive. A society that does not require that you are exceptional to thrive. A society that understands that with an investment, we reap great rewards. That's what this is about. So the president and I and all of us who are a part of this are really excited about the American Rescue Plan, because through this plan we are going to lift half of America's children out of poverty. Now, why should we care about that? We care about it because lifting folks out of poverty means dealing with issues like food insecurity, which is a fancy new way of saying people are hungry in America. We care about it because it's about saying, let's invest in our child care centers and our child care workers. No. Can I get a witness? Understanding that when they are well-resourced and are appropriately valued for the gift they give to society, that we all benefit. Let's relate it to what we need to do when we think, I do many things with the president every day. We, of course, are focused on foreign policy. We understand that we need to compete as a nation in a global economy, that these investments will reap huge rewards as a return on the investment when we think about investing in our children at their earliest stages, knowing what we do then will then compound the interest in the investment so that we can compete as a nation and be strong. All of these things are connected. And this was the intentional purpose of the American Rescue Plan, which was to look at child care, to look at our child care workers, to look at our children, to bring them out of poverty, and to do what has long been overlooked, which is to understand that, our children, we cannot in public policy subordinate them as, you know, as because I guess they're little people, little problems. And instead understand. Again, if you just want to go to what our friends in the private sector, how they judge themselves, what is the return on the investment? You invest in our children, you're going to get a huge return on the investment. And so that's what we're talking about, and we hope to build on it. But a large part of our success is going to be the success that you have here on the ground. I know there are childcare workers here, there are educators here, there are parents here, there are young leaders here. And the work that you are doing in terms of the implementation of this plan is going to make all the difference. And the other way that we're thinking about it is also pointing out that these things are actually possible when we have the will and the courage to focus on our children, and that there will be support. You know, the president is very proud, you may have seen his press conference the other night, but that there is bipartisan support for this approach, right? That there are certain issues in our country that should not even be bipartisan, but nonpartisan, and one of them should be our children. So we are doing this together. We are all doing this together. And we're doing it also with an understanding that in order to best help the child, let us also not get into that situation that has happened at times on policy affecting children where it can get a bit paternalistic. Let's make sure that we are also agreeing that one of the best ways to help a child is in the context of the family in which that child is being raised, and that means supporting that family also. And so that's what we did in terms of the extension of unemployment benefits, what we did in terms of the $1,400 check to help people out in terms of direct payments, so we can get people back up and running. But I'll close by saying this. I believe in that saying that in every crisis there is an opportunity if we see it for what it is. This pandemic resulted in so much loss to human life. People lost their jobs, loss of normalcy, so much loss and devastation. And this pandemic was in many ways an accelerator, meaning for whom things were bad before, they got even worse. And it also magnified then the fissures and the failures and the fractures in our system. So you say, Kamala, okay, talk about the opportunity now, right? The opportunity is more people are seeing that, yeah, affordable childcare is a big deal. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough. We started to talk about things like paid sick leave and paid family leave, because guess what? We're all in this together. So therein lies the moment of opportunity that we all collectively, I know, are going to take full advantage of in terms of saying, you know what, there's consensus. We're all in this together. Everyone can see something that maybe only some of us could see before. So let's get to it. And let's not be incremental. Let's leapfrog over the problems and get into the next phase of all of this. Invest in our child care workers. Invest in our child care centers. Invest in our children. Pull people out of poverty. Agree that it is not okay in the United States of America that children go hungry. This is the opportunity before us right now. The opportunity to address longstanding racial disparities in every one of these systems, be it healthcare, education, the economy. Deal with the fact that over 2 million women left the workforce, in large part because of dual responsibilities, and the need to address those responsibilities. We are at a moment, I believe, that should cause us to have great optimism about what is possible. And we are all a part of it. So, it's Friday. It's the second weekend of spring. I left DC, and I think the cherry blossoms are about to come out soon, and flowers are blooming, and at least we see those little buds. And we have a moment where we can see kind of a spring. So let's go into this with all of the wounds we carry. But let's go into it with a sense of optimism about what we are capable of doing when we do it together. Thank you all.